I welcome to the digital classroom. Now, I will be asking you some very simple questions. I want all of you to answer my questions. When do we celebrate Independence Day? Yes, we celebrate Independence Day on 15th August every year. Why do we celebrate Independence Day? Because we got the freedom from the Britishers in the year 1947. How did we get this freedom? Yes, it's because of the hard work of so many national leaders. So, today we are going to learn about the national movement phase 1, that is from 1885 to 1918. Now, I am going to show you the pictures of some freedom fighters of India. You just identify who all are they. Do you know who is this? Yes, the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, Sardar Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai. Similarly, we have many other freedom fighters which we do not know. So, now I will be telling you about them in detail. The national freedom movement started with the revolt of 1857. It was during this revolt that all the people of our country, irrespective of the caste, creed, religion, gender and status, have come together and have started the fight against the Britishers only to bring back the old kings to the rule. They never had a wider vision about the independent country. With the introduction of English education in the 19th century at Madras, Bombay and Calcutta, the educated Indians have come to know about the injustice and inequalities that were created by the Britishers. Now, they have started craving for the democratic setup of the country, and this was the first step towards the national freedom struggle. After understanding the basic nature of the British policies and its impact on our country, several associations were formed. One such association was formed by the grand old man of India, that is Dadabhai Naoroji, in the year 1866 at London in the name of East India Association. Based on that association, several other associations were also formed in our country at Bombay, Pune, Madras and Calcutta by Surendranath Banerjee, Justice M.G. Ranade, Badruddin Tyabji, K.C. Tellang, G. Subramaniam and Sri Gopal Krishna Gokhale ji. The activities of this association was to unite the intellectual Indians, to make the freedom as the common goal for all the people of the country. They wanted the people to be sovereign, that is, they should be empowered to take their own decisions, and for that purpose they have started leading the campaigns against the Britishers' policies like imposing the taxes on textiles, racial discrimination, repressive laws against newspapers. This phase was called as the moderate phase. The period of the moderate phase is between 1885 to 1905. It was during this phase the Indian National Congress was formed. The Indian National Congress was formed with the help of A.O. Hume, a retired British official, and with the 72 other delegates which were elected from the different parts of the country, which included Surendranath Banerjee, K.C. Tellang, Subramaniam Iyer, Gopal Krishna Gokhale and many others were there. There were three main objectives of the Indian National Congress. The foremost task of the Indian National Congress was to unite the diverse people of India from different regions and build the national consciousness by accommodating the special requirements of all the people, and for that reason they have decided to meet every year. The second objective of the Indian National Congress is to create a common platform for political workers to gather and conduct political activities by taking up the grievances and fighting for those rights that are common among all the Indians, which help the Indians to know about their political rights. The third objective of the Indian National Congress is to promote democratic ideals by discussing all the issues and by creating the common consciousness among the people. In 1886, that is within a year, 436 delegates were elected from different parts of the country, and hereafter the Congress has started meeting every year. Every year, number of delegates increased by number, and it included lawyers, journalists, teachers, industrialists and landlord, and even it included few women like Kadambini Ganguly, the first woman medical graduate from the Calcutta University, but most of the members were men from the higher position. During the first 20 years, Indian National Congress was working with the main motto of getting the freedom. The demands of the Indian National Congress from the Britishers were to have the Imperial Legislative Council more representative, Indians to be given more powers, Indians to be placed on the higher position in the administration, civil services to be conducted in India and not just in London. Leaders like Navroji, R.C. Dutt and Ranade understood the Britishers' policy of draining of wealth through taxes, the problem of poverty and famines due to the British policies of excessive land revenue, export of grains, etc. They wanted the industrial development of our country, as the Britishers were stopping the development of our country by selling their goods at a cheaper prices when compared to the Indian products. The moderates started holding lectures, meetings and tours. They believed that Britishers will accept their demands when presented properly. They agitated British government through newspapers and public lectures. They adopted the policy of pray, protest and petitions, and that was the first important move of the Indian national movement. But there were few leaders in the Indian National Congress. They did not like the strategy of the moderates. They wanted to follow some policies which were very extreme, and this gave rise to the extremist phase. The period of the extremist phase is from 1905 to 1920. It was during this phase that the Swadeshi movement has taken place. With the Swadeshi movement, all the women, students and the people of Bengal have come onto the roads, and they have started agitating against the Britishers. The main trigger of this movement is the partition of Bengal. The partition of Bengal has taken place in 1905 by Lord Curzon. It was said that on the day of the partition of Bengal, the food was not cooked in the house of the people of Bengal. They all came on the roads. They tied rakhis to each other, and they have conducted the public meeting with the 75,000 people attending the meeting. After the partition of Bengal, the people became so violent that they have started coming onto the roads, and they have started fighting against each other. They started boycotting the foreign goods and foreign institutions like school, courts, etc. And this gave rise for the industrial development of the Indian goods. This gave rise to many Indian industries. The first industry which was started during this phase was P.C. Roy's Bengal Chemical Industry and Jamshedji Tata's Tata Iron and Steel Company at Bihar. In 1905, the next Congress session was held. It was during this session that some extremist leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai and Bipin Chandra Pal, they wanted to take the national movement a little ahead. It was during this phase Bal Gangadhar Tilak gave a famous slogan, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it." The extremist leader wanted to move away from the older strategy of the mendicancy. Mendicancy is nothing but begging from the Britishers about their freedom. They said that we are not going to beg from the Britishers, but we are going to fight for it. Now this has given a rise between the extremist and the moderates leaders of the Congress. And finally, the Congress was split at the Surat session in 1907. After the split in the Congress, the Britishers have become very harsh with the extremists. Extremists have started becoming violent with the Britishers. Britishers, on the other hand, have started punishing the national leaders by imprisoning them, exiling them, or by hanging them to the death. But this did not affect the spirit of the nationalism. The national movement revived again when Bal Gangadhar Tilak came back from exile and joined his hands with Annie Besant towards the Home Rule movement. This has united the Congress in the year 1916 through the Lucknow Pact. It was during this period that the First World War broke out. The period of the First World War is from 1914 to 1918, and the war was between Britain, France and Russia on one side and Germany and its allies on the other side. The impact of the war was too bad. There was lot of human suffering and destruction, and even it gave rise to the era of several revolutions in the countries. In India also, it brought the revolutions, and now the people have understood the injustice and inequalities of the Britishers, as the Britishers were imposing a lot of taxes among the people for raising the funds towards the war, and they were exporting all the food grains to send it to the armies at the war front. People were unable to resist this inequality and injustice, and they started fighting with the Britishers. On the other hand, Britishers also became very harsh and wild with the people, and they started punishing them very badly. It is only among this period Mahatma Gandhi has come back to India from South Africa. The India started fighting directly with the Britishers for their rights and for the inequalities and injustices created to them. Britishers, on the other hand, have become very harsh and wild, and they tried to repress the ideas of the Indians. It is only during this time that Mahatma Gandhi has come back to India from South Africa. So, my dear students, in this topic we learnt about the revolt of 1857, introduction of the English education in India, formation of the early associations, formation of the Indian National Congress, the moderate phase, that is from 1885 to 1905, the extremist phase, that is from 1905 to 1920, the moderates and the extremists split, the First World War, that is from 1914 to 1918. In this topic, you will be able to read about the paragraph of the partition of Bengal and interpret on it. Here you will be able to create a timeline chart about the events that has taken place in between 1885 and 1920. Here you will be able to identify the similarities and differences in between the Telangana struggle and national freedom struggle. You will be able to point out the places like Jamshedpur, Mumbai, Bengal, Meerut, etc. on the map of India. And you will be able to write the slogans which were raised by some of our national leaders during the national freedom struggle. Here, now I am going to ask you some questions. Please note down in your notebooks and discuss it later with the teachers. What was the purpose of introducing English language in our country? Discuss about Surendranath Banerjee, G.K. Gokhale and Dadabhai Naoroji. What are the objectives of the Indian National Congress? What is Lucknow Pact? So now, my dear students, you have learnt a lot about the national freedom struggle, but it was only the early phase. We did not go till the 1947, that is till the independence, that we are going to learn in our next session, that is the national freedom movement phase 2. Till then, bye bye, see you, take care.